What's going on, guys? Jacob Orth back here with another video of Jacob's Life in Vegas, and we're going to be talking real estate here in Las Vegas, of course, with this beautiful lady.
Hello. Now you're complimenting me.
Yeah,
Woo.
exactly.
All right.
So, guys, this is Lacey. For those of you who don't know, a lot of you have seen her on the channel already, so you're familiar with her. She's a realtor here in Southern Nevada, so if you're looking to buy a place here in Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, there's, link down below. You can contact her over there.
Yes.
She'll help you. And we're going to talk about something today that has come about, especially in the digital age that we live in.
Yep.
And it's about looking for homes, buying homes, and looking for houses online, and doing that versus talking to like a real human.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about whether you should use buying a home on Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin or Open Door or Lord knows how many others.
Yeah,
how many of these other sites, and just the differences between looking at that and between doing this and talking with someone like Lacey, an actual person. So give us the breakdown of just how those websites get their estimates, because people look on there, they see the estimate on there, and I've used those sites in the past myself, and you see the estimate on one site and you'll see it's way off from another one.
Yes. So there's an algorithm set up. I'm not a mathematician, so don't quote me on this, but there's an algorithm set up where they take public information from like the assessor's office of what the home was assessed for, and then they take a look at recent sales and it's all public data. They can't pull private data. They don't really know the estimates of what the actual house is worth, and they just take an aggregate of that number and look at the zone or the area code or whatever that piece is that you're looking at, and they average it out and make an estimate based on that. The problem with that is, and again, I wish I knew the entire algorithm. I would sit here and do the whole matrix for you, but the entire problem with that is that those automatic estimates do not take into account things that we know are taken into account from like somebody who's going to be an appraiser who walks through the home, and it's there's a human error component of that, but there's also the human insight component of that. They're looking to see if you have marble countertops, that might add a little value versus the regular tile countertops. Right. They're looking at things that Zillow and all those other websites just cannot see, because all they're looking at is data and numbers from online. So when you do buy a house, you're required to get, if it's not a cash deal and you have a loan, you're required to have it appraised, and a physical person will walk through the home and they will look at things like what the landscaping looks like, what's the, even just like the trim around the edge of the outside of the home, that can affect the value of a home. They can look at what's next door to the home, what's down the street, if it's gated, if it's not. These are all things that are not even considered when it comes to those estimates. So they're usually, almost always, way off.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind too is, when you use those websites, those platforms, and I'm on there and I'll look at, hey, if I want a house with this many bedrooms, this many bathrooms, in this price range, it'll give you a nice list of homes, but none of those homes may be in a place that you actually want. It might fit the dollar amount that you put in there, it might fit the number of rooms, but it might not be in a neighborhood that you actually want to live in.
Correct. And when it's estimating, it could be $1 million neighborhood next door to you, and you're looking at a 2-bedroom condo, and it's taking the value of the neighborhood next door to you and the 2-bedroom condo, and it might be elevating what the value and the price looks like for the condo or the Zestimate or whatever it's called, because it's surrounded by all these other bigger and bougier homes, if you will. So you like that I said bougie?
Exactly. So because sometimes neighborhoods can change quickly from one to the next. So on those platforms, if they're taking obviously just a wide range of these homes, just putting them all together, for you, it said, because your story is going to be different, right? You're going to have your needs and you're going to have what you want to look for when you're coming to buy a place here that obviously a computer or a website can't gather. So that's something where like a realtor like Lacey or someone else can help with that thing, because the human component, I believe, even as digital as the world we live in is, as much as I'm on YouTube doing
Same
videos,
here, man. I love digital.
Doing videos and stuff like that, you can never get away from the human component of it. So doing videos is like really the most human way you can interact besides in person.
Absolutely.
But the human aspect, the in-person aspect, is something you can never really replace.
Yeah, I think there is a good thing about the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, and all of those is they allow you to browse, right? So they allow you to kind of get a feel for what you might get for your money in a certain area. So if you don't know Las Vegas and you're looking, you heard Summerlin's really great. Right. There's great areas of Summerlin, and then there's parts of Summerlin that are a little bit less desirable or a little older or a little worn down or whatever. They have stuff that's industrial around it, and there's components that you cannot see on Zillow. But what are great, and I highly recommend people use those for, is when you're just browsing, if you just want to poke around. But if you're in like, I'm really looking for a house mode, I'm sorry, but you need a realtor. You need someone to help represent you and really listen to your story and your needs and help define what's going to work for you, because they know the city and they know what's surrounding it. So
yeah, and even the other thing, speaking of needing a realtor, because on those sites you'll have people realtors that, they're recommended realtors that they say, they're suggested realtors, because those people there, essentially they have to pay for that advertising space.
Yeah, those are paid placements. They're not better than anybody. They're paying out the butt to be at the top of that list.
Yeah, and I've seen it before where you could check one neighborhood one day, go back the next day, look at the same neighborhood, and you're going to get different realtors recommended to you. So again, if you're looking for a realtor, you're looking for someone to help, you're really just kind of at the mercy of their algorithm and,
who pays the most.
And who's paying, and just how the algorithm is going to rotate people as far as the advertising, where that's one of the cool things that I like doing this, because I'm like a real person, and I get to talk to people, and I can have other like real people on the channel, and they can talk and they can share, and essentially saying, hey, I think you should work with this person, I like this, I'm giving you that referral, that connection in that regard, which you can't really get on a Zillow or a Redfin or something like that, because like you said, they're just putting up people who are paying for advertising space is what it is.
So it's not that they're not trustworthy, I'm sure they are. We've got some great realtors here in Las Vegas, but my team and I really focus on the relationship aspect and really want to make sure that we are serving your needs before we're serving ours. I mean, that's part of our ethics as realtors. We sign on the ethics dotted line. We all agree to abide by a certain code of ethics and also laws and rules, and we have to make sure that we're abiding by that while protecting your best interests overall. So super important. And I know, Zillow and Redfin and all those others, those are their computers. I know they can connect you with people at some point in time, but did you see that guy? Little fly that came by. But at the end of the day, you don't know if they're connecting you because they were paid to connect you or if they're connecting you because they're the highest rated. So just be really careful and leery of that. The other thing to note too is when you see listings, it'll often say the person who's listing the house is listed there. I'm always a fan of coming with your own representation. It's sometimes okay to have the same person who's selling the house also represent you as a buyer. We are allowed to do that here in Vegas, and I've done it myself. But if you don't know the person and they're just some random person online, you don't know if they're going to have your best interest at heart. It would be much better for you to find your own realtor, tell them that's the house you liked or you found on Zillow, if that happens to be the way it is, and then let them contact the person to see if it's still available and get other information. I wanted to say something else actually about these websites. They're almost always outdated. In fact, they are always outdated. So when you work with a realtor, it's one-to-one, like minute to minute up to the date. So if someone makes a change, I can refresh my page and I'll see the change. Most of these are set up on an algorithm and a time delay that they don't get updated for sometimes 24 to 48 hours and sometimes longer. So you may be in love with the house and waiting for that person to call you back because you reached out and they never call back, or they call you back and say, oh yeah, we sold that a month ago. I don't know why you're still seeing it as available. That happens a lot. So another reason to call a realtor. And we're free. I'm free. I mean, for buyers. I'm free. I mean, my services, you don't pay for my services. And most realtors, as buyers' representatives, we don't get paid by you. There might be small fees for transaction coordination and things like that, but overall and in general, buyers do not pay for our commission. It comes from the person who's selling the house. So it makes it even easier to connect with somebody. There's no strings attached, man. Let's just move forward.
Yeah, exactly. So this is just something that came to my mind. Because a lot of people obviously look online and they look for a place. And like you said, it's a good place to start.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, I did the same thing when I was getting ready to move here. I'm looking at different neighborhoods and I'm looking, I wonder how much these houses cost. Or even you can, see rentals and stuff on there. They've got, lots of different stuff you can look at. But when it comes down, when you're ready to actually sign on that dotted line, that's when you want to have someone who's able to help you. Yeah.
Or even just when you're ready to get serious about like truly looking, because you don't want to be looking at outdated info in a fast moving market. It's heart-wrenching. I just had it happen with a client the other day. She sent me this beautiful house, found it on Zillow because she wasn't quite ready to make the move. I looked it up. It was available. The next day she said, that's it. I've decided I'm going to go. I called them back the next day. They said, we sold it 5 minutes ago. You were just 1 minute too late. So for us, it just, if I had known and we knew she was ready to go at that moment when I first called initially and looked, I would have let them know we were interested, and they might have held off and waited for our offer, which would have been a nice thing to be included. So
so you start there, browse around. Yeah. But when it comes down to you get more serious, this is your go-to gal. Yeah,
and I can actually set you up with up-to-the-minute information that comes directly to your inbox. And I have an app as well that allows you to search all of what I see in MLS. Because the reality is, I'm not going to find your dream home. You're probably going to find your dream home, right? Like whether it's through the listings I send you or it's the stuff that you find online through Zillow, Redfin, whatever. My job is not to find your dream home. It's our job to locate it and identify what it is. My job is to represent you and protect your interests and make sure that you get the best deal possible and that you are safe and sound at the end, tucking yourself in bed in your new home. So that's my job. Very motherly of me, right?
Exactly. Motherly. So is there anything else we need to keep in mind for people who are looking online to buy, just pitfalls they might come into if they're using or if they're relying on the internet too much when it comes to home buying?
Yes, so I do get that it's easier and dealing with people sucks. I totally get it. But you have to be careful of scams. So I was personally affected by this a long time ago before I got into real estate, when Zillow was pretty new. And just fairness to Zillow, they've probably cleaned this up a bit, but you just never know. There was a house listed for rent, and this was, again, probably 15 years ago, and I was so stoked because it was like $1,000 less than what you would pay normally for this McMansion. And I reached out to the person online, pushed the button, it asked for my information. I got a random phone call from some guy hurriedly asking me for my social security number, my bank statements, like all the stuff that you would normally have to give to rent. So it didn't seem odd, but before I pushed forward and actually sent them the info, I asked my realtor friend at the time, who I didn't want to bother because I was renting and I know they don't make money on rentals, if she could just look into it for me. And she called me in a white knuckled panic saying, Lacey, it's a scam. That's not even listed online. Don't send them your info. Please tell me you didn't send me your info. They're going to steal your identity. And luckily I was literally 5 minutes from sending them my info, because that's what you just start to trust the internet. So scams are still a possibility. It's definitely something to just be wary of and be careful of. And another reason too, if you do find a place online, it's totally cool. You can even send it to me and I'll look into it and let you know if it's still available, what the deal is and all of that. But try not to just reach out directly to someone online. It just, you just never know. So just be careful of scams.
Cool. So
we got a bogey. Look at him. Hey there, how you doing?
Exactly.
I love that.
So, all right, guys, I think we've covered a lot in this video. Covered a lot as far as people, using the internet, and obviously, lots of millennials like myself use the internet for stuff like that. But you still have to always work with humans at some point in the process.
And someone you can trust, right?
Exactly.
That's what matters.
Exactly. So remember, guys, you need help looking for a place to buy a home here in Las Vegas. Link down below. Lacey or somebody from her team will get in touch with you. They'll be glad to help you throughout that entire process. Please tell me what you guys think about this video. If you have any questions, comments, all that fun stuff, you can use the comment section down below. Thanks again, Lacey, for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's gonna be it for this video, guys. I'm Jacob. This is Lacey. This is My Life in Vegas.